Good morning, everyone. Good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are, and welcome to the Weekly Energy Boost. My name is Elisheva, and I am here with David Ghiyam, and we are excited to bring to you the most important and most valuable navigation tools to get you through the upcoming 7 weeks. We, David and I, are teachers at the Kabbalah Center, and on top of teaching classes, we work with students every week to help them personalize the wisdom and tools of Kabbalah. And this show is a group session. We try to go through the source texts like the Zohar and bring you as much. Let's put it this way. We look at what helps us and we bring it to you. So today we're going to share with you perhaps one of the most popular. I saw Karen Berg posted about this week, if you knew Rav Berg, our teacher, you know that for the Rav, this was the most important week of the year because it has within it the seed levels for healing in every aspect: physical, emotional, spiritual, mental. And we want to look at this week and the opportunities we're going to have to achieve healing on a profound level. David, what say you?
Yeah, so we're going to talk about many things, and one of the things we're going to talk about is removing negative energy from our vicinity, from our spiritual vicinity, from our aura, from our environment, because negative energy on both a level of our on our thoughts and our words and our actions are contributing to this conflict inside of our bodies and conflict in our relationships and really all around. So it sounds simple, but we need to be reminded of it on a constant basis. So the first concept is that the more negative energy you have in your life, it's going to eventually manifest, and it manifests over time inside of our body and inside of our consciousness, which then creates this perpetual spiral of chaos into our own lives. And it really just begins with, what part of my life is there an abundance of negative energy, and I can slowly start to transform it. So I think a big thing is we're learning in Kabbalah to control our thoughts, to take a stance against negative thoughts. And as they come, and they will always come, you can't avoid when negative thoughts come, but to realize how important it is. The same way a person cuts themselves, and maybe they cut a major artery and they're bleeding and they don't have much time before they would actually die. They're going to do something about that, even if they're in an important business meeting or they're on vacation or wherever they are, and they don't want to stop what they're doing. But if they cut an artery, they're going to stop everything and they're going to get help. When we have negative thoughts, if we're starting on the thought level, when we have negative thoughts, it's important to stop everything and focus on transforming that and make the effort to transform it. Because when a person allows the negative thoughts, the doubts, and the fears and the worries about what's going on around them with other people to fester inside their mind, like a cancer, the way a cancer goes from one organ to another, the cancer of negative thoughts goes to the organ of speech. And a person then inevitably will start talking and saying things that they shouldn't be saying, creating a new circle of negative energy. And one of the things that the Zohar says is that a person shouldn't open their mouth, because the truth of who they are always comes out when a person speaks. And if our thoughts are negative, then eventually they will manifest through our words. And if our words are negative, then eventually our actions will follow suit. We'll make decisions in life, we'll go travel places, we'll have the desire to do certain things which are predicated upon the negative speech and thoughts we had before. So the reason why people make poor decisions in life is because they actually use poor words, and actually because they have poor thoughts. And that's why people enter bad relationships, actually, or any kind of negative scenario, is because it started, again, with the negative thoughts that then trickled down.
Are you going to tell us how to transform negative thoughts, or are you just going to tell us not to have them?
Well, I think I think a lot of our sessions are important because we bring forward what's important all the time, and we awaken the desire of our audience and our own desire to realize what's important. And it starts with desire. If by you listening to this or listening to really any kind of spiritual talk about this topic. Your desire is awakened, maybe just for a few hours, but your desire is awakened. And once you desire not to have negative thoughts or desire to remove negativity from your life, the creator, the light of the creator, this universal energy starts to show you how to do that. Of course, we can give tools and techniques as well, and maybe you have some that you're thinking of, but it starts with first awakening the desire that I want to rid myself of my negative energy. And it does start with my thoughts, my words, and my actions. And we can talk about environment, friendships, and other parts. I have it written down here. But I think that's the first part to start with. That if you're thinking right now anything, worry or doubtful or fear about your future, you have to stop everything you're doing and take that pause and find a way to transform that. Make the effort to transform that with Kabbalah tools, with any kind of tools, meditation, anything that you've already learned so far.
Okay, I'm gonna bring in a more basic and elemental concept. I know many of you who are listening right now could be listening for your first, second, or third time, and you haven't yet created a structure to your Kabbalah learning. So first of all, I can't recommend that enough. We have a website called Kabbalah1.com where the wisdom of Kabbalah is presented to you in a way that is both deep and practical, so that you can begin already from the first session using some of the tools that we're talking about here. And one of the key concepts there is that we're constantly, as human beings, we are a spark of the light force of the Creator. We are divine, connected naturally to that divine force, but we knowingly and unknowingly disconnect from that force.
Right.
And an accumulation of those disconnections is often what draws those unfortunate, and this week we're talking about healing. One of the things that the Zohar talks about is that anger, which maybe it's a bit obvious, but it's one of those things that puts us in the dark, that disconnects us from that force. Repeated anger, and it's funny because I think that a lot of people don't even realize that they're getting angry when they get angry. If somebody throws furniture when they get angry, it may be obvious.
Right.
But when things don't go our way, we get angry. And that accumulation of anger eventually results in illness, whether it's something that happens and a person, it's a temporary challenge, or it's a long-lasting, difficult one. What's important to understand is that it's not a punishment. It's what we call cause and effect. That choosing to be disconnected, choosing to sit in the dark, eventually results in darkness.
Right. And
that Kabbalah asks us to be aware not just of are you throwing furniture, but of those negative thoughts, those limiting belief systems that keep us disconnected, because our natural state is connected. Mm-hmm. That's something that I'm not sure every spiritually minded person realizes, is that when we don't do anything, when we're asleep, we're connected. How connected we are depends on what we did the day before, but we are not in our natural state. We are our soul. And those negative thoughts and negative words and negative behaviors create a boomerang that comes back at us. And unfortunately, many times it comes as illness. And again, not as a punishment, but as a wake-up call. Do you realize that you are the one putting your finger in the socket? Do you realize that you have a choice? You don't have to be angry. You don't have to retaliate. You don't have to talk badly about, the people who appear to be wronging you. You can choose a light-filled path.
We always say in Kabbalah, keep in mind that everything that's happening around you is a complete illusion. It's not even happening. These people don't even exist. It seems very real, and it needs to, because that's the game of earning the light of the Creator. We need to feel that this game is real. We need to feel these emotions. We need to feel that the people are there and they're trying to hurt us. These are all feelings that we actually need to have in order to have the free will to overcome them. But Kabbalah is predicated upon the idea that this world is a complete illusion. This challenge that you're facing right now, this pain that you're feeling, is actually an illusion. It's the effect of something that's already happening on a spiritual level. Go to the spiritual level, reveal the light of the Creator there, and then eventually it will manifest physically is the result that is pleasurable to us. But the actual result itself doesn't really mean anything. It's already the effect of something that happened before. It's kind of like if we look at the sun now, the sun that we see is not actually what it is right now. It's, I don't know what it is. If you look at the speed of light, I think it's like 8 minutes or something, 8 or 18 minutes or something. But what we see now is actually what the sun was 8 minutes ago. A lot of what we see in the sky, even with the telescope, what you're seeing is actually what it was maybe 10 years ago.
There's a delay, is what
10
David
years
is
ago,
saying.
right? Because it took that long for that light to reach you, but the source of that has already changed. So everything must go back to the source. Kabbalah is always about the source. And in order to appreciate this idea of going back to the source, we have to remember it's an illusion. What you're going through right now, as real as it seems and feels, and it does feel painful, it is an illusion. And if you can remind yourself of that, that is your first step towards healing. So if you want a tool, it's the tool of saying, wait, I'm going to pause right now. I'm going to pause this entire illusionary reality and realize I need to go back to the source. The source is my spiritual work and my consciousness. And something that we teach in our Kabbalah 1, 2, and 3 classes is
8 minutes and 20 seconds. That's how.
Oh, is that what it is?
That's
8 minutes and 20 seconds. So whatever we see actually happened 8 minutes and 20 seconds ago within the sun. So here's a practical structure for people to know. We've learned in Kabbalah this idea of tikkun. Tikkun means correction. My soul came to this world with aspects it needs to correct. Based on a person's tikkun, they attract certain challenges that we basically call the trigger. Okay? So a trigger comes based on my tikkun, and I feel this emotional, reactive feeling.
Can I pause you 1 second?
Yeah.
The trigger comes not to punish us,
right,
but to give us the opportunity to transform the tikkun.
Exactly.
That's important to understand, because sometimes when you're working on something and you're bombarded by those triggers, bombarded by physical pain, bombarded by annoying people, it feels like punishment.
All right, don't give energy to the trigger. Don't give energy to the person who's triggering you, or the event, or the loss that you're feeling, or the failure, or the rejection, whatever it is, or the criticism, the evil speech about you. That is just the trigger, and it is not important. It is an illusion. It is there just to test you. That trigger then precipitates into a movie. You start to create a movie based on that trigger, right? So person, let's say, speaks bad about me. That's the trigger. The reason why someone's speaking bad about me is to awaken things within myself that I haven't corrected for many lifetimes. So I start going into a movie. Kabbalah says, forget about your movie. Go to the source and correct yourself. You're being shown what you need to correct. If you don't do that, you'll end up going into a movie. What's the movie? Nobody likes me. People are speaking bad about me. If this person says something bad to one of my clients, I'm going to lose that client. If this person speaks bad in general to my community, no one's going to want to date me or marry me or give me business or be my friend, right? That's the movie. And we start going into these movies. We could be just alone walking down the street and we're having a movie about what just happened. And this movie just starts festering into our minds. As you're hearing this, are you going through a movie? Like before you heard our show, were you in a movie? Were you thinking, this could happen and that might happen and this one's probably speaking bad about me right now? I can feel it. And when I feel stuff, and this is what people tell me, I'm so intuitive. I feel it. And when I feel it, it means it's happening. And even if you're accurate, who cares? You're going into a movie and you're taking a brain space with this movie. Because inevitably, once you tolerate this movie and you nurture this movie, then it comes to the next phase, which is branching out. You start to branch out. You start to actually speak negatively and act negatively. So you branch out, you call people, you react to it, you start doing things differently to manipulate the situation, control the people involved. You might even call the person who's speaking bad about you and say, hey, I heard you're speaking bad about me. Stop it. This is all reactive behavior, and it's missing the point.
It's giving energy to exactly the limitations that we don't want.
Exactly, and it's poisoning ourselves. So at that moment, we're actually creating this dissonance within our body, and the cells are starting to accumulate spiritual poison. Of course, it doesn't manifest right away because that would take away our free will, right? If somebody went into a movie and was angry for 1 hour and immediately a limb fell off, that wouldn't be a way to inspire us to do spiritual work.
Right. And that's the idea that, you have a negative thought. So let's say that's a split second of disconnect.
Right.
By you feeding the movie and making those phone calls, you're perpetuating that disconnect, right? Everybody has those negative thoughts. The test is not, do you have negative thoughts or don't you?
Right.
It's when you have the negative thought, how quickly do you you let the thought roll right off you, and you go back to something that's going to lead you to where you want to go, because the movie and those phone calls and everything that ensues afterwards distances you from what you really want.
So we have trigger, movie, branching out. Your free will only happens after the trigger. You don't have any control over the triggers happening.
Right.
The triggers will come based on the mapping of your soul. If your soul has something it needs to correct, it will activate a trigger, meaning someone will say something bad about you or take business away from you or hurt you in some way, right? So your free will only comes at the moment that movie starts. In your mind, when the movie starts, your free will begins at that moment. And you can allow that movie to go on for hours and hours and hours, like a Netflix marathon. Or
you can binge that movie.
You can binge watch that movie and be a participant and actor in that movie if you choose. But every minute that movie rolls, you are bringing negative energy and you are creating a destiny you will not be happy with.
Here's another way you can make that distinction. I think as spiritual people, we don't want the physical to have control, right? You don't want other people to have control over you. You don't want the stock market to control your finances. You don't want the real estate market to control your mortgage. You want to be above. You want to be hovering over the chaos, right? The more energy you give the physical, the more the physical has control over you. And to me, that's like, when I remember that, it helps me snap right out of the movie that I'm feeding. I do not want to be limited by other people's opinions and, all those statistics. I want to be above the physical. So the less energy I give to the physical, the more control I have over it.
That physical trigger. And it sounds nice as we're saying it, but it requires a warrior, a true warrior, to remember this throughout the day and realize that the true fight is maintaining a balance and harmony within my consciousness, within my thoughts, words, and actions.
And that, by the way, that's why this week has the ability to give us that immune system boost, is because this is the week that we can take back the perspective, maintain that connection to the spiritual, not give in to the stupid little, your ego wants everybody to know you were right. Your ego wants everybody to know this is actually how it happened. You want to tell, you caught somebody doing something negative. You want them to know you caught them. Let it go.
Right.
The key to keeping connected to that source called the light force of the creator is these 3 words. Let it go. Right.
Imagine, this came to my mind. Imagine like you went to a restaurant today and you were sitting right next to a celebrity, like at a table right next to you. And you actually started to talk to the celebrity. They were talking back to you, and you probably felt good about that. Imagine like the next day, like at a business meeting or something, or some function, someone starts talking about that celebrity. You have a desire at that moment to actually say, you know what, yesterday I was sitting with that person and I had a conversation.
I can't wait to hear where you're going with this.
And the truth is, nobody cares. And the other truth is, you're just saying it because you're reacting to your desire to want approval. Just because you met that celebrity yesterday, why should you now interrupt this person's story to interject that you're special because you met them? Right? So all of this is coming from
this
our
happens
own.
To us all the time living in LA, right? This is a real life story from David Ghiyam.
In fact, non-celebrities are the real celebrities in LA because there's more non-celebrities than celebrities. When I find a non-celebrity, I ask for their autograph because they're more rare here in LA.
Crickets.
All right. So bottom line is, it all comes back to we can choose at any moment, right? And even if you've been in your movie for hours and you feel like you're immersed in this like feces of negativity, if I can use that word, you're just immersed in this negative swamp and you've been there for days. Any moment you can say, you know what, right now, I switch
Let it go.
I'm going right now to be with the light of the creator. I want to have affinity with the light. And at that moment, all your cells heal. At that moment, actually, all the negativity that you allowed into your consciousness, into your body, into your cells, into your organs, it just starts to transform. So at any moment you decide, you can transform it. Now, of course, people have been holding on to their movie for years and years and years. It does change immediately, but it requires strong consciousness again and again and again to heal lifetimes of negative reactive energy we put into our body. So we said our tikkun awakens challenges which trigger our tikkun and show us our negativity.
So that we can overcome it, not so that it can own us.
Exactly. And right after that trigger, that's the moment of free will, you can choose how you want to live your life. If you choose the reactive side, you go into a movie, you start thinking nonsense. You start 99% of the things you're thinking about never probably will happen. They're just based on your fears. And then those movies, if you don't transform that, at that moment, you'll start branching out. You start to say stupid things, say reactive things, say destructive things, or act in a destructive way. And then there's chaos, right? And that chaos physically manifests to wake us up, to go back to the beginning, take responsibility for the negativity, and not go into our movie.
Okay, so let me give you a real life scenario. Let's hear David Ghiyam's take, okay? I had a conversation with a student last week that's going through some chronic health issues, okay? Trying 20 different modalities, approaches, tons of doctors, all kinds of stuff. Nothing seems to be working.
Right.
What would you tell that person?
So healing...
But I just want to say that it's not life-threatening.
Right.
It's just painful and debilitating.
It can be eczema on the skin, by the way. It can be so many different things that to a person is very painful. And everyone heals differently. And it all depends on how long you've been harboring negativity and for how many lifetimes. So be patient with your process. The most important thing is to implement as many powerful tools on a second-by-second basis, minute-by-minute basis, to speed up that process. But to know that your process will take time. Some people, it can be days, weeks. Sometimes you need to maintain a very strong consciousness and powerful energy for years before that healing can occur. The reason why healing is slowing down for a lot of people is because there is a cognitive dissonance, we spoke about this in the car, between what my mind and my soul knows and desires for myself and what my actions are doing. So there's a conflict there. So a classic example of cognitive dissonance is I smoke, that my action is one of smoking, but my mind and my soul knows that it causes cancer. So there's a conflict here because a part of me wants one thing, but my actions are doing the opposite of that. Part of me knows it wants to thrive and be successful and have my own business, but my actions show that I wake up late, I'm lazy, I'm not confronting my fears, I'm not creating a business plan. So there's a dissonance there. There's a conflict. Whenever there's conflict between my soul's desires and my body's actions, this manifests as a disease and it slows down the healing process. So all disease comes from this main conflict. And that's why, for example, when a person feels suppressed in a relationship or feels suppressed at work or feels suppressed in life, it starts to manifest somehow in the body. So some people have skin issues, some people have digestive issues, some people have sinus issues, right? All of this stuff comes from that conflict between what you know you want and how you're acting. And if you want to know what that is, just start to write down your dreams. If I had to ask you, what are your dreams for your life? What do you feel are your soul's destiny? And just write it down like a little child. And then look at it. And then write down what your actions are on a daily basis, what kind of thoughts, words, and actions you have on a daily basis. And tell me, are those in line with your dreams? That space between the difference of your dreams and the way you're acting is the space of where disease comes in. And that's really the thing. So if you can close that gap, you speed up the healing process on all levels. And if a person is very healthy right now, you need to know that if there is a gap between your soul's desires, your passions, your dreams, and the way you're acting, that cancer is just there. It's just in a metaphysical state. It hasn't manifested as a lump or whatever it is yet. We need to, right now, shape up and say, I need to align myself with the person I want to be. I can't smoke if I know smoking is bad. Now, if I truly believe smoking is good and I love smoking and I think it's actually helping me, then smoking actually won't hurt me as much as the person who knows it's bad and still does it. And we know this in Kabbalah because it is dangerous to study Kabbalah. Because as soon as you know something is not
it's
right
not
for you,
carcinogenic, but it's dangerous.
It's dangerous. And I'll tell you why. It's dangerous to be on any spiritual path because the minute you know what's right,
you can't go back to not knowing.
You can't go back to not knowing. And that conflict between knowing what's right and doing the opposite and not closing that gap creates stress, and which is a good stress, right? Because that stress is to push you forward. It's almost better not to know what the right thing to do is if you have no intention of changing. It's almost better not to hear a Kabbalah lecture if you have no desire to change. That's why when people say, oh, can you go talk to my friend? I had somebody call me this week and say, my husband really needs help. Can you speak to him? My first question always is, well, does your husband ask for me? Like, does your husband
is he open to it?
Yeah, is he open to change? Oh, I'm not sure yet. So then it's very dangerous to learn this. I don't want to tell him any concepts, spiritual concepts, because if he knows them and he has no intention of applying them,
make things worse.
It's going to make things worse.
But I think one of the amazing things, not to, let's say, to promote the wisdom of Kabbalah rather than demote it, Kabbalah also teaches that the body is a communication system, right? So if, a lot of us, I said this to a student last week also, how many of us drive with the engine light on?
Okay, yeah.
Right? If we're honest, right, most of us do. Or we let the gas gauge, run empty until you're really, that soon you're going to be pushing the car to the gas station if you're not careful. In that same respect, our body has engine lights that go on. And what's really, again, to me, it's been fascinating. This is something that I was fascinated by even prior to studying Kabbalah. Kabbalah simply gave me the answers I was looking for. But according to Kabbalah, you haven't, what makes it, why does a person get a cold? And maybe I'll talk about this from personal experience. I had an experience on Thursday where I got super reactive in the true month of Cancer form. And I afterwards, a few minutes later, I realized I had gotten reactive. And again, not throwing furniture reactive, just, inner conversation with myself. Inner furniture. I threw my, actually, it's funny to say it, I probably threw my organs around. And I would say less than 24 hours later, I was nursing a sore throat and congestion coming down the pipeline. And I knew it. By the way, by Friday morning, I was like, uh-oh, I punctured a hole in my immune system. And I knew that because I know me, but I'm saying prior to studying Kabbalah, I was very interested in seeing how the emotional system creates, if you're healthy emotionally, you have a stronger immune system than someone who is emotionally, if you're upset, if you're angry, etc. And Kabbalah, of course, supports that idea, that in the same way that no one can control you unless you give them that control. You have the ability to strengthen your immune system with your consciousness, with your words, with your emotions, and with your actions. And your body can tell you where you are weak.
Right.
The section of the Zohar called Pinchas details the different aspects of the body and how they are affected by different reactive behaviors and different emotions. So, again, I say in true Cancer form, of course, I got hurt. I did something nice for someone. They criticized me. I got a little hurt, offended. And again, for me, it doesn't take me long, right? I'm not saying I didn't sleep that night. I want to say it maybe took 10 minutes before I realized, why am I getting upset about this? This is ridiculous. Well, I won't even go into it. So I was like, okay, I had a great evening at home and blah, blah, blah. But I realized that it was like just poking a hole. I poked a small, like a pencil. I poked a hole in the balloon and I was going to have to catch the boomerang back. Look at your body. That's the point of my conversation. Look at your behaviors and your words and your actions. What are your go-to emotions? That's another, a person who is needs to be right, or a person again who's gets angry or gets hurt, right? That victim that, you did this to me, or you made me sad, upset, angry. Your body is going to show you, and there's a lot of non-Kabbalah research around, the different emotions and where they're held in the body. There's ancient, like Chinese medicine talks about it. Louise Hay has volumes about it. Look into it. I mean, that's, I think, one of the great awakenings for us this week can be, what is my body trying to tell me about my consciousness, about my emotions, about my mental state, and how can I listen better to my body?
Someone just wrote right now, what about autoimmune diseases, right? And I've dealt with this in many different capacities, but no one really knows the source of an autoimmune disease. And it's, for those who don't know, the simple definition of it is when your immune system starts to attack your healthy cells, right? It doesn't know the difference between the healthy cell and a sick cell, because when there's a virus or some kind of disease, your immune system kicks into action and starts the healing process. But what happens when it starts attacking healthy cells? If you want to know from a spiritual point of view what's going on, and a way to begin the process of healing autoimmune, and this is a very spiritual concept. It's not just energy. What I'm about to share is an energy solution, but we have to know that when we also kick into this new consciousness, the light of the Creator comes and starts to bring solutions, whether it's the right doctors, the right ideas, the right medicines, the right herbs, whatever it is. When you yourself are viewing your own body in a negative way, or you're judging yourself, or you're holding, when you hold on to negativity and anger and frustration, you're basically saying you hate yourself. Because why would you do that to yourself? Why would you hold negativity if you loved yourself? If you believed in yourself, if you believed you were a healthy being, you wouldn't attack yourself by holding on to this poison. So what you're doing is you're training your immune system to attack healthy cells, because you yourself are attacking healthy cells. When you're staying in a bad relationship that you should not be in, which is very common, you're basically attacking healthy cells. You're attacking a healthy you. You're a great person, and you're saying, hey, great person, I'm going to attack you by putting an abusive person with you. So it's an autoimmune relationship, right? Because you have...
Sorry, I shouldn't be laughing, but that's very that's funny really, way to put it.
The first step to healing an autoimmune disease is to take inventory of my life and examine my life and ask myself, where am I not treating myself like the healthy, pure, powerful being that I am? If it's... When a person has autoimmune disease, the first thing they're doing is changing their diet, because they start to all of a sudden treat their body better. Because if they want their immune system to stop attacking healthy cells, they have to stop attacking their body by putting junk in it. So they start to eat better. But it doesn't just end with a diet. It ends with the spiritual work of asking myself, where am I tearing myself down? Where am I judging myself? Where am I holding on to spiritual baggage? Because that is the spiritual equivalent to spiritual autoimmune disease. And when you begin that process of releasing those things and start respecting yourself and start loving and appreciating, if there's parts of your body you don't even appreciate, or you're angry at, or you're frustrated with, you're attacking a healthy cell. In the same way that your immune system is attacking it, you're attacking it. You're attacking yourself. So there's so many things that we do to attack ourselves. And it happens on the spiritual path because we beat ourselves up on the spiritual path. And it's a fine line of how to rise to your greatness without how to grow to your next level while appreciating the level you're at, and not being upset with who you are, or beating yourself for who you are, which is a very common thing.
Absolutely. And even looking at what the wisdom, a lot of people bring, let's say, for example, meditation.
Before you continue, can we ask also, just to interject now, if you're enjoying our show, and if you feel that it can help others, share the post, like it, do it also on the podcast, because it helps these platforms know that we are relevant.
If you're listening on a podcast, you can subscribe. You can also share the episode with friends and family, and you can find us on iTunes, Spotify, Castbox, iHeartRadio, Google Play, Castbox, I said it already, and Stitcher. It's just a fun word to say, right?
Our audience is growing every week because people are sharing.
Can I tell you something, by the way?
They're really helping us bring this platform out to thousands more people every week.
I was speaking to someone a couple months ago, and they said, you know how David says our audience is growing every week?
Mm-hmm.
So I said, I realize that David is referring to the numbers, but he also needs to know that the people who are listening are growing every week.
That's good. I like that.
And I thought that was very cute.
That's very cute.
So what I was going to say is that a lot of people bring spirituality into their healing process. Right? As a tool, right? There may be nutrition. You may use alternative medicine, Western medicine. A lot of people bring meditation into their practice as a result of having some sort of health crisis.
Right.
In Kabbalah, we learn that those tools like meditation, like Zohar, like within the wisdom of Kabbalah, there is a plethora of healing tools. Those tools don't do the work for us, and I feel that it's really important to mention that as well, because a lot of people try Kabbalah and say it doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
Well, first of all, I think we need to manage our expectations a little bit. It's not an energy drink. You know, if you feel energized after the energy drink, you say it works. Kabbalah it can be a lifestyle, it can be a way of life, it can be a spiritual source of strength and support, but that's what it is. It doesn't do the work for us, right? If a person has issues...
It adds to our work.
Well, yeah, if you heard what David said about 10 minutes ago, you can't unlearn it. It does add to your work because it makes you... I shouldn't say makes you. It awakens you to be more responsible, more cautious, more aware, and more careful with what you do, who you do it with, and how you do it.
Right. The barbell doesn't make your muscle look nice. It's the tool you use.
Well, exactly. So let's use the barbell as an example. Sitting on a barbell isn't going to strengthen you.
Or buying it.
Or buying it.
buying the entire CrossFit does not make you have a six-pack.
Totally. The wisdom and the tools of Kabbalah support us to do the work. And I know, and I've met people all along my own journey who've said, you know, I tried it for a year, for 2 years, it didn't do anything. It doesn't do anything. It's a disclaimer. It should be at the bottom of every website we have or whatever. Kabbalah doesn't do anything. You need to use Kabbalah.
Right.
And in using Kabbalah, it can strengthen you, it can inspire you, it can support you. And for me, the spiritual connections I make that I've learned through Kabbalah, if I can use a really old and overused metaphor, it fills my gas tank.
Right.
So that when I need to realize, wait, I'm being reactive, I can do it faster. But if I'm not even making an effort to wake up, the Kabbalah I'm doing isn't going to help me.
Right.
And that, you know, in looking, I mean, one of the funny things is that this weekend, the Kabbalah centers all around the world will be packed.
Right.
Because people know that this is the week to make the connection to the energy of healing. But if you don't do the work the other 50-something weeks of the year, it's not going to do the job.
Right.
It doesn't do it for you. The work that we are here to reveal the greatness of our soul. Nothing can do that for you but you. And yes, the wisdom of Kabbalah can support you. It can help you. It can accelerate the process only if you're already doing that work. And on that note, by the way, I'm going to Chicago this weekend.
What does that mean? You're plugging.
I'm plugging. Okay. I am plugging. I will be in Chicago this weekend with a group of other teachers for specifically this, to make these spiritual connections. We have a healing circle. Mm-hmm. We have a spiritual social hour. We'll be participating in some ancient Kabbalistic practices around healing. So if you live around Chicago, or you can get to Chicago, I know people that are coming from St. Louis, from Indianapolis, from all over.
And they can stream in too?
No, you can only stream the usual streams.
Got it.
But we'll be live in Chicago, which we are rarely. Please join us. I think you can register. Registration closes Monday night, but if you're listening to this after Monday night, maybe we can do something for you. But anyway, very excited to go to Chicago.
To recap the concepts we've learned so far, we've learned about the power of our thoughts. We talked about the trigger, awakening negative thoughts, creating a movie, causing us to branch out, and then chaos occurs. Learned about free will. Our free will is transforming our thoughts at the moment they come in. Like a severed artery, we must pay.
It's a very strong visual.
A strong visual. Like a severed artery, we need to stop everything we're doing and transform those thoughts into more positive, happy thoughts that are more in line with our soul's energy. We talked about the cognitive dissonance and the dissonance within our soul. Disease manifests when you know you're meant for greatness and your actions reflect mediocrity. So that conflict between what you feel you're meant for and what you're doing manifests as chaos and disease, pushing you to close the gap, pushing you to start acting the way you're desiring. Becoming the person you know you're meant to become is the path towards healing. And the third concept I just wanted to throw out there, I don't know how much time we have, and we can elaborate upon this, is a lot of people just have negative belief systems, limited belief systems. And we're bombarded by limited belief systems all day long. We hear professionals telling us limited things. People unconsciously tell us limited things. You know, you might respect your parents, and your parents might just say things like, oh, you know, be careful about this, or, you know, you shouldn't be doing that, or you may not be able to do this. And even if it's true and accurate, this limitation that we put into our mind creates that dissonance within our soul, because our soul is unlimited. And then people tell us limited things. Even if we're not meant to do something, we shouldn't feel that we're not able to do it, if that makes sense, right? If I'm not meant to, let's say, be in a relationship this year, no one should tell me how hard a relationship is or how I'm not meant to be, because the truth is, if the Creator wants me to be, I'll be. So we have to have unlimited consciousness. Every time you think a limited thought or something that you're powerless to do, or something that you feel that is not possible. I know it sounds cliche, but you have to immediately in your mind say, oh, wait, you know what, it is possible, just not for now. Everything's possible, just not for now. Healing is possible, just not, maybe just it won't happen now, maybe it could, but keep the limitations away. Don't limit your energy, because the Creator wants to give you, and if you create too many boundaries, too much structure in your life, if you're controlling your life too much with statistics and all this nonsense, you are blocking energy. So one big thing to healing is unlimited thinking.
Okay.
Anything to add to that? Or do you have any questions?
We have a couple questions. That's what I was just scanning through the comments. And if you're listening to this and it's not Monday morning, feel free to put your questions in. We go back throughout the week and we check
Correct.
to see the comments, and we'll get to the questions as we can. You know, I think one of the challenges that we do get in the show in general, and I see it happening here, is that there's very specific questions. What do I do with?
Right.
It's very difficult for us to answer those questions. Usually we need more information than what's provided in the question, and I feel like it's sometimes too much responsibility to just answer off the cuff like that. One of the things that I do see here that a lot of people are saying is that, you know, if you're really willing to, let's say you heard the show today, you're going to say, okay, I'm not going to give into the negativity, not the negative thoughts in my own head, not the conversations around me. The fact is, there is a lot of negativity out there. It's
right.
in the news. It's, I don't know, you see, we were just talking about movies, and I was saying, I'm not going to watch that movie because I don't want to hear about people
right.
that are, cheating on their spouses and whatnot. but I use that as a joke, but the truth is, you don't have to see that movie.
Right.
You know, if you, and I don't want to destroy the entertainment industry by saying, don't watch negative movies or TV shows, but everything is a choice. And something, it's actually a very somber note to end on. Hopefully we'll think of something else to say, but I unfortunately I had the privilege actually of attending a few funerals in the last few years of fabulous women mm-hmm. who obviously left the world too early because of breast cancer. Mm-hmm. And one of the things I noticed that were said, let's put it this way, in every funeral I've been to, for everyone who died of breast cancer, the theme was the same. They never asked for anything for themselves. They were only there for others. They gave selflessly, put aside their careers, their desire. They were supportive wives, mothers, sisters, daughters. You know, they weren't for themselves at all. And probably by the fourth one, I had to ask myself, maybe that's not the best thing to do, right? Not from a spiritual, Kabbalistic point of view, but if that was the thing that brought them, that they had in common. Obviously, you know, if you've listened to the show, Kabbalah talks about sharing and being selfless and caring and getting outside of your comfort zone to help others. But, you know, one of the things David said about a half hour ago is, you know, write down those dreams and create a congruence between who you are on the inside and who you are on the outside. And it dawned on me that maybe one of the most unhealthy things we can do is to not honor our desires, our needs. Now, that doesn't mean, you know, you become a Jabba the Hutt and you tell everybody what to do and you chain people up in order to get your wishes. Right. But that balance between honoring your unique abilities and desires and powers is, you came to the world for a reason. If it didn't need to be you, you wouldn't be here.
That's what I love about Kabbalah. It has a healthy respect for receiving. It doesn't diminish it. It doesn't speak evil about receiving. In fact, it really teaches you how to receive, because if the whole world was able to receive properly, that is the end of pain. So people have an unhealthy relationship with receiving, is pretty much what you're saying. Yeah. I know people who are very sharing people, but because they have an unhealthy, toxic relationship with receiving, they're actually totally not on the spiritual path, because they're escaping that part of their soul's correction. It's actually harder to learn how to receive than it is to share.
100%. And you know, I always say Kabbalah is so annoying because it asks us to do the difficult things, right? But the alternative is far more difficult.
Right. Right. People think Kabbalah is painful. The alternative is much more painful.
Yeah.
But it's just, it comes up in such a sneaky way that you don't see it or feel it. But next thing you know, your life is in a place that you never really wanted it to be. So in a positive note, we have the power, and any moment, no matter what's happening in your life, remember it's all an illusion. It's all an illusion, and you have the choice at any moment to connect to the light of the Creator. And the light is waiting. It's not like a fatherly figure waiting. It's just energy that is there if we decide to connect to it or not. And we connect to it by transformation, positive thoughts, cut out the negativity. You know what's exciting is there's a lot of negativity in the world. And it's very exciting.
Very exciting.
It's actually very exciting because whenever something seems somber and, oh gosh, you have to realize it's actually something very exciting is behind it. And there's so much negativity in the world. It's almost too obvious that it's the opponent trying to bring us down. And all of this negativity really just means there's so much positivity that is available for all of us. If you ever want to know how many miracles are waiting or available at this very moment, just see the congruent amount of negativity that you're looking at.
Well, let's give, before we sign off, I'll give you a visual. When you hold a candle, you know, it's 2 p.m. in the afternoon and you light a candle and you're, you know, outside on the street, you can't really benefit from the light of that candle.
Right.
But in the black of night, in the darkest moments of the day, you light that candle, and it provides a way not only for you to see, but for everybody around you. Or, you know, Rob used to say in a football stadium,
right? You
know, you light a little match in a darkened football stadium, it's going to light every single seat in that football stadium. So to me, that's a reminder that the smallest light that we reveal has much more impact now than it would if the world were, you know, peace, love, and harmony, even though that's the goal, that's the destination.
Correct.
So
just as a reminder, please share this with your friends. Get this word out there, this energy out there. You never know, somebody hears this. Someone maybe with an autoimmune disease can hear this. It can change their consciousness, change their life in some way, and that energy just keeps going.
So we're here every Monday morning at 10 a.m. Pacific. You can find us on Facebook on the Kabbalah Center official page. You can also find us on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Play, Castbox, and Stitcher. Did I forget anything? No. Okay. Thank you so much for watching, commenting, listening, liking, sharing. We will see you next Monday morning for the Weekly Energy Boost.
Wonderful.